want to say welcome to the Disciple Making Church podcast, and we are so glad that you're joining us. My name is Ken Adams. I am the director and founder of Impact Ministries, and also I get to be the lead pastor at Crossroads Church in Noonan, Georgia. And so I'm just excited that you're able to tune in with us here on our podcast, because what we basically want to do is that we just talk all things disciple making. And so every month we try to bring in people from from our church and other churches that can just really speak to what does it look like for the church to literally be Jesus intended it to be to start with, and that is to be a movement of multiplying disciples. Because that's really, honestly, that's what the church ought to be. The church ought to be a movement of disciples that are making disciples that look and act like Jesus. So I'm really excited about today's episode, because I've got a couple of buddies with me today. This is Jasper Kent. This is Josh Drop. They're both a part of our team here at Crossroads Church, and also have been a part of a group that we're going to talk about today that we have been a part of together. And we call it a 640 group. And so this is the first time we've talked about this on our podcast, but hopefully it'll be of interest to you and help you. And we'll get into that and explain a lot more to that here as we go. So, but to start with, I just want you to hear from these guys and just let them introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about their what they do here, kind of their role in our church, and even a little bit about their experience with really just kind of disciple making. So Jasper, start us off, man.
Yeah, so I serve here at Crossroads as a worship pastor right now, helping oversee all of our teams from worship and production. So we help the piece of disciple making when it comes to our crowd piece, large group environments, and creating compelling gatherings where people encounter God, connect with Christ in His church. And so that team is our weekend team, where we get to experience a lot of the people from culture coming in, and also our next gen teams that lead throughout the week as well.
Yeah. Very cool, very cool. Hey, I do want you to say this real quick. So, because I think a lot of people might even just want to hear a little more. You said the crowd piece. So what is the crowd piece as opposed to other pieces?
So the crowd piece would be, we start with the culture of reaching out to the culture, and our process of disciple making is we've defined 5 doors that we use for that. Our crowd piece, otherwise known as a large group environment piece, we talk about it through the lens of there's 4 wows that we're looking for with it, and it's a piece of inviting people in where we get to lift up Christ in that place. So we're inviting people from culture into the crowd. Primarily, we always have worship. We always have message during that time, but it's really about lifting up Jesus and believing that as we lift up Jesus, He will draw all men to Himself. And then from the crowd, our intention at the end of every single large group gathering we have that is a crowd piece is to give people next steps into the community piece to help them in that process of disciple making.
And then eventually to become a part of a core, disciple-making core.
Yes.
And then called leader, right?
Yeah. All the way.
Yeah, very well said. That's really good. Josh, tell us a little bit about you, man.
So I'm here on the communications team. Usually I'm behind the camera, so it is a little awkward today being on this side. But
you got a great face for it, man.
No, but I do social media, website, media team, so photography. I do a little bit of video. You name it. That's kind of really what I do. So I have my hands in pretty much all ministries, just, not super in their worlds, but I get a touch on a little bit of each one. So
yeah, very good, very good. So we're going to kind of unpack a little part that we do here called a 640 group. But before we do that, man, I think it'd be just good for people just to kind of hear a little bit about your discipleship or disciple-making journey, man. Just kind of like from a personal standpoint, and I know you guys hadn't necessarily prepared to answer this, but just say, what has discipleship meant in your life, and what have you learned? What's kind of been some big takeaways for you when it comes to disciple-making?
Yeah, discipleship for me, I think was something as a young adult I probably didn't understand. God really changed my life at the age of 20 and began to do a work in and through me of just kind of showing me what it looked like to follow Him. And it was being more in, I I guess, vocational ministry that I guess was more exposed to the idea of there is an actual intentional process of discipleship. So what does that look like? So before, I think I just experienced it in what we would consider more of an organic way, through just Bible studies, going to church, but there wasn't any purposeful intention behind it. And so for me, the language of it and the intent behind it has been very much of, this is work that is helping all of us become like Jesus in our, as we would say, character and conduct. And so it has been incredibly resourceful to have the language to go alongside it and to be able to do that in the context of a local church. That we're not here just trying to have great worship services or hear great messages, but we're trying to help people go from being untrained to fully trained, as we would say, through an intentional process. And so I think it started very organic in my life, and it has become very focused and intentional in how I get to do this and how I get to help other people on that journey as well.
Yeah, that's so good. And I think that's good, man. I would just add too, you know, the cool thing is there's really, I think what Jesus would have done is a little bit of a blend of both, right? So it was a little bit organic in the sense that you know, he was really just connecting with people and helping people, but he did it with an intention and a strategy behind it, right? I mean, he wasn't just winging it, right? He wasn't just you know, making it up as he went.
Right. So, right. And there is that difference of when I think organic, I think sometimes it's just people getting together, opening up the Bible and studying it, and that's beautiful. I love the scriptures. I love unpacking it. It didn't always lead me to a place of going, well, how is this changing my life, though? Sometimes it felt a little bit more knowledge-based and transformation-based. So yes, that both and, though, of like, there is an organic piece to it, but intention.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. You got to add to that?
Yeah, I definitely think the intentionality was like taught here at Crossroads, because you hear about the disciples, but you never heard about really being a disciple, but we're all called to be a disciple. And so being at Crossroads, I've really learned that. And then, you know, just seeing the process of taking people that, you know, after being discipled yourself through that process is just impactful.
That's really good. Very cool. So hopefully by now you're kind of getting an idea that what we try to do here, at least at our church, is that we're trying to follow really a model that Jesus gave us. He gave us a very clear mission, and that mission was that we are to go and make disciples of all nations. Jesus is the model of how we do that, and then Jesus had a method, and that method was to multiply. And so as a result of that, and you kind of heard both these guys talk through it, but what we really try to do is we do try to help people go from kind of being an untrained seeker to becoming a fully trained disciple. And so as a part of that, we intentionally help them, lead them actually just from being in the culture to being a part of a Christ crowd to becoming a part of biblical community to becoming a part of a disciple-making core, and then eventually become a called leader. So what's interesting is that here at our church, we encourage people in that core environment or that core piece, is that we're really trying to help people develop Christ-like character, Christ-like conduct, get a foundation of their faith, and then learn what it means to become a leader. But what happens is a lot of times is that after a person finishes that curriculum, if you will, is that sometimes they actually stop or maybe they just lose focus of living out what they learned in that piece. So we developed a concept here that we call a 640 group, which a 640 group is basically a group of people that have been through our discipleship process. We call it Impact. And so after they've been through that group, they may even go on to lead a group and start helping make disciples. But it's a special group that gathers people together basically on a monthly basis, and it just continues to help us look at our lives be accountable for the character and the conduct of Christ being fleshed out in our lives. And it's something that we just do on an ongoing basis so that we are able to just keep living out the mission that Christ has given us. And so we've been doing this for a couple years now. We just kind of are really experimenting with this idea of how do we not just go through a course, but how do we live a lifestyle of looking and acting more like Jesus. That's really what it is. So these guys have been a part of a group that I've just done. We've spent the last year going through this together. So from your perspective, Josh, you kind of share with everybody what did it look like? What did it feel like? What was your experience with it?
Yeah, I think it definitely is the next step in the phase of like being a disciple, because obviously we're not necessarily teaching each other, but we can definitely learn from each other. So there is that. But I think the overall process is good because it's really just an accountability group and just holding each other accountable. And we can learn from what you guys are going through and what your walk looks like.
Yeah. So a couple of things you said there I thought was great. One is that it's different from a discipleship group because we're not doing a lesson.
Yeah.
We're not doing a lesson. We're not looking at content. Nobody's teaching or anything like that. So it really is a group that meets for the sake of just holding each other accountable, checking on each other, learning from each other, helping each other grow, and really encouraging each other too, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's really good, and it's important to remember that even though you can complete a course, you never graduate.
Yeah.
I mean, you literally never graduate in discipleship, right? In disciple making. Yeah. What about you? What was your perspective on it?
Well, I'm going to build off of some of what Josh said because you referred to it a little bit as an accountability group. And sometimes when we hear that in the church world, we automatically put some thoughts on what that means. For us, it meant more, let's come with stating, here's the plan of how we want to live. And that accountability then was shared around, here's how we're trying to live our life, of modeling our life after the way that Jesus lived his life. And I would say for us, it's a little unique of those of us that sat in this group. We were all in vocational ministry. This is our life. And I have found it's easy to assume for those of us who work in the church world that we're always doing this. And it's not true. Right. Like we should never live with the assumption that we're leading from a place of love, that joy is in our life, that we're being patient and kind towards people around us, and that people in our church potentially experience something other than the character of Christ in our life. And so I do think there was a little bit of a unique perspective of all of us being in Crossroads Church, working on staff at Crossroads, and it felt a little bit more like that accountability side of how our peers and our coworkers and the whole life of our church actually experiencing us in this way. And that's, I think, more what I experienced through the accountability piece of, I know I had shared a few times of just not feeling like a sense of peace in my life. What does it look like to experience the peace of God in my life and live out from a place of peace? So I think I love that space of, we didn't come with the lesson, we didn't come with a Bible passage to study. Here's the plan that we feel like God's called us to in this season. How am I living that out? What am I doing with that?
Yeah, that's good. Really, really well said. And so we had another guy that was a part of our group, Alan Murray. Alan is actually on a mission trip right now, so he's actually living out what it means to be a disciple. And so he would be a part of our group if he were here. But basically, the three of us met, and we meet once a month. And so we had, because we all work here at the church, we had a chance to do it during the day and during part of our work hours. But we'd meet for about an hour, and so we would go back to each of us kind of brought to the table a life's mission statement saying this is where we feel like we're going in the coming year, based on the life of Jesus. So we looked at Christlike character, we looked at Christlike conduct, And the reason that we did it that way is because, and this is where we get the name 640 group, is it goes back to Luke chapter 6, verse 40, where Jesus said, a student is not above his teacher, but a disciple, but a student, when he is fully trained, will be like his teacher, right? And so what that tells us is that, first of all, is that Jesus doesn't just tell us to make disciples. He tells us to make fully trained disciples. His words, not ours, right? He said make fully trained disciples. So then you ask the question, so what does a fully trained disciple look like? Well, it looks like our teacher. Well, who is our teacher? Our teacher is Jesus. And so how do we look like our teacher, or for that matter, anybody? And there's two ways you determine that. One is you look like people from a character standpoint, and you look like people from a conduct standpoint, because character is who you are on the inside, and conduct is who you are on the outside. So if I were going to say, so if I asked somebody to tell me about Josh, so you would describe him, or Jasper, you would describe any of us based on the character of our life, like the kind of people that we really are, the kind of guys that we are. Mm-hmm. But then if you also would describe me somewhat by the things that we do, or our behaviors, and that would be conduct. So the goal here of this group is that we start by developing a life mission statement. So we're saying this is what all of us are choosing to do in terms of objectives and rhythms in our life, whatever the case may be, so that we are becoming more like Christ in our character and our conduct. And then we share that with each other, and then from month to month, we basically just ask the question, how are we doing?
Yeah.
How are we doing in that? And so it's cool because, in a sense, it's like we're looking in a mirror every month, asking the question, and accountability is only to the extent you're willing to invite somebody into your life, right? And ask them to do that.
Yeah, you have to be honest.
You have to be, yeah, exactly. And so so that's kind of the way the whole group was working for us. And so so I know for me personally is that it's just such a powerful tool, and that's what I would call it. It's just another tool in my life. In fact, when I sit down, I do a life plan every year and say, this is where I'm going. One of the things now that has become a part of that annual plan is to develop and to start another 640 group where I'm just, and we could actually do it again, but I just am trying to get more people used to the idea and doing it. So I'm just trying to find, as you said, space in my life where I'm bringing guys into my life and helping them as they help me. And that's really what happens. You know, I know there were times when I would hear you guys share about things that you're experiencing in your own journey, your relationships, your life, that honestly just encouraged me, because I'm sitting here going, when I know God's working in your life, I know God's working in my life, then I see this, I see what we're doing working. I see the mission of Christ being fulfilled. So been a powerful experience for me. Another little part to the picture is that we would also, a lot of times, and we didn't do this perfectly, but we would also say, in the coming month, so we don't go through our whole plan, but we say in the coming month, please kind of hold me accountable for this, or please kind of hold me accountable for that. And so I know there are lots of times where I go, man, ask me about how I'm doing sharing my faith, right? Mm-hmm. Because sometimes in ministry, you spend so much time with Christians, you don't spend enough time with us. And so it was so helpful for me to know that you guys were going to at least ask me, or I was going to have to answer to you of how I'm doing in terms of connecting with people that are far from God. And so that is the way this process works. It's a group. You meet together once a month. You bring a life plan. You ask each other questions about that life plan. And in the process, it really just kind of help us, keeps us staying in the game. So somewhat like working out, isn't it?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just on a monthly basis that you get
Exactly. Instead of every other
instead
day.
of every other day. But yeah, it is. And it felt very much, I think part of the thing I walked away always encouraged by was we love the same God. We believe in the same God. We believe in a Trinitarian God. We're following Jesus, but what Jesus is doing in and through our life is unique sometimes for our seasons of life. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's also the same type of work, which is taking us from broken people to whole people, from the areas of our life that don't reflect Him to reflect more of who He is. And so it was interesting because all of us sit in different stages in life, from, being a grandfather now to newly married to having kids at home, and Alan as well of stepping into a season of being an empty nester, but how there were some of the exact same things that we're walking through of like, I just, I'm not responding well to this exact relationship. I'm not, and how all of us also still struggle with the same stuff, regardless of the season of life that we're in, and how we were experiencing God just doing a work in and through us. And so I think I found several times one of us would share and someone else would have a word of encouragement in that moment of just saying, you know what, I've been there, I've seen that, here's something that I feel like God taught me through that.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, that's really good. Any other thoughts, man?
No, I just would totally agree with all that. And I think that it is important that we do recognize that, you could be in that same season at the same time too. And so not only are you getting hope that, oh, this person might have been through it already, but you can be going through the same thing together. Like I know technology was I think in our last conversation, that's been a big one for us. And so just knowing that we're all dealing with that together, but that God is faithful and He's going to get us through that.
Yeah, that's great, man. Good stuff. So I'll just kind of wrap us up here a little bit with a few thoughts. One is that if you are wanting to become more like Christ in your life, in your conduct, your character, and all that kind of stuff, I would say, first and foremost, is understand what the character and conduct of Christ looks like by working through our Impact curriculum. And so, if you haven't gone through Impact curriculum, you can go to our website, impactdisciples.com. You can get a free copy. You can load it up, all books, and there's 4 levels that we go through. Anyway, just go to impactdisciples.com, and I would encourage you to start there. Start with the process of learning what it means to be a disciple and build disciples, and then after you have completed the Impact Discipleship curriculum, then consider, starting a 640 group. And if you say, well, how do I do that? So we actually have a free resource for you. It's just we call it the 640 challenge. And so it will give you at least a starting point. It will give you some ideas. And you say, well, how do I get one of these? Well, they're not on our website. So you have to contact us at info@impactdisciples.com. So it's at info@impactdisciples.com. And so if you will just reach out to us at that email at info@impactdisciples.com, then here's what will happen is that we will, and by the way, all of that is on our website. We'll have even a link here as well that you can go to and find out more information. And so if you're interested in this whole idea of continuing the process of growing as a disciple, then we really would love to help you with that. And just as we've done every single time we get together, we haven't figured it all out. We're just trying to share with you what we've learned. This is one of those things that honestly we just kind of stumbled across a couple of years ago, and now we've been doing it for a few years here, mostly among our staff. We believe it's going to help even more people, even leaders in our church as we go forward. So we'd love to help you as well. And so check it out. Just go to impactdisciples.com. Let us know that you want more information about a 640 group, and we'll be glad to contact you and help you with that as well. We also are love to help people get started in what it means to be a disciple-making church, and just help churches get a plan, sort of a map for how to do that. And so reach out to us for that as well. We'd love to help you with that. And then also we do an online group called the Disciple Making Pastor Group. And then Jasper, you do some things for worship leaders. Tell them a little bit about that.
Yes, I started this past year a cohort for worship leaders to help worship leaders and worship teams build disciple making into the DNA of their church. So you can just shoot me an email, jkent@crossroadsnoonan.org, and I'd love to connect with you, help you on this. It's very much of how we have landed on helping our ministry teams be a part of everything that we do in the life of disciple making. And I'm incredibly biased about it, but I think we have some of the best worship leaders out there because they lead with a disciple-making heart. First and foremost, our heart is always we're followers of Jesus, we're disciples of Jesus. We just lead worship from that place. And so I'd love to connect with you and help you with that.
Yeah, fantastic. jkent@crossroadsnoonan.org. And then do you have a cohort for communications people?
Not yet. We might host some, breakouts at a conference maybe, hopefully soon. So.
Yeah. So because obviously our whole communications team is about to making disciples as well, aren't
It
they?
is.
It
yep.
is,
in
really,
all
it is.
areas.
It
Yep.
is, yeah.
Digitally, physically, all of it.
Yeah,
so.
Fantastic, man. So anyway, hey, we're here to help you. Thank you for joining us. We would like for you, if you don't mind, share this with other people. I think that's how we get the word out to people and let more folks know of what it means to be a disciple-making church. And then also, too, if you like it, that would help us as well. So remember this, is that Jesus started the church the way he wanted it, and now he wants it the way he started it. Thanks so much for joining us, and we will catch you again next month.